What's going on, guys? It's Zach with the BTR podcast. It's not Chris this time. I'm here in the flesh for the first time, and it feels like forever. But this is the lost episode number 100. In case you guys were wondering where that was, here it is. Again, I do have Chris and Andrew both with me. How you guys doing today?
Good. Do you think people noticed that we just skipped right to 101 from 99?
Heath did. Heath called us out on it.
Heath is everywhere, man.
He's a data guy, though. You would expect that.
Yeah, it was one of those. I had some plans for episode 100 and couldn't make it work at the time, so we just decided to skip it and record it now. So bear with us. I'm clearly rusty at doing this, but I wanted to be here for this one.
I would just say that host is sort of a what's the right word? A moving target. It's more nebulous. It's not just kind of who says the first word, but like I like to steal this show some of the time / a lot of the time, right?
You know, it's funny you say that because when I splice all this together and post it, like I listen to the first probably 10-15 minutes of it at least as I'm doing it, and it's usually the good 5 to 10 minute monologue from Andrew on whatever topic they're talking about, and it's quite interesting because I always wonder how people feel about that. Like, is Chris still there?
Going straight into a monologue?
Right,
you know,
right.
It's great. That's why the people show up.
And it's not even like college football related. It'll be like just something going on in his life, like tell a story about going to the store, or he was
jogs around the city.
He was placing these bets on props that nobody else is talking about but Andrew. But it is interesting to hear about.
We do have the MLB draft on Sunday, so you know
exactly.
But I do catch myself a lot of the time while that's playing out. I'm kind of in my own head, like just eyes rolling around or whatever. But then usually towards the back 20% or so, I'll look at the screen. I'll see Chris is like just working on something completely different, and that's when I know I got to reel it back in and get us back on track.
Yeah, that's one of the negatives to video, right? Like when I'm with Ethan, we're doing Ball with my bestie. Like, there's no video, so like
really,
I could literally be like, dude, like I could make hand motions and we would be good. But yeah, I have to start drafting on fan tracks or something to get Katz to come back to reality.
That's funny because, like, again, I don't listen usually all the way through. Sometimes I do, but I do listen to the first probably 10-15, and it's interesting every time. It's different every time, and it's great. I'm going
to divert. Speaking of monologues and just going off on a tangent, can we talk about my Arizona State bets that I placed this past week while in the great state of Kentucky?
Please do.
So I bet, I don't know, I think you saw Katz. You had to have seen it. I bet Arizona State to win the Big 12, Arizona State to make the playoff, which is obvious, and Arizona State Sam Leavitt to win the Heisman. Which one of those do you think is the winner? Do you think any of those are winners?
Are you of the mind that 2 Big 12 teams is like super in play?
I think it's definitely in play. I mean, I think Arizona State earned some respect last year with how they played, and I think Sam Leavitt's a big enough name, I think. And Kenny Dillingham's awesome. I think there's a little bit of that benefit. Plus, I was shocked their total is only like 8.5 wins. And, you know, BYU is no longer really a contender in the Big 12, which is helpful for like the conference championship perspective.
Yeah, it seems like sportsbooks finally learned this year that maybe we shouldn't price these quote unquote top tier Big 12 teams at like 9.5 wins. Like, if you look at the win totals, everyone's between 5.5 and 8.5, I believe, which it's the Big 12. It makes total sense. I still think there's opportunity to lean into my favorite approach of just kind of fading the top 4 teams or so and playing into the bottom 4. I drank some Texas Tech Kool-Aid and played a little bit of them to win the Big 12 title, but in hindsight, I wish I hadn't. Like, I prefer to just back the teams at near the back and lean into variance there a little bit.
Yeah, my concern is that like what you mentioned weeks and weeks and weeks ago about how like the Big 12, the team that's at the top typically sucks. The team that's at the bottom is typically awesome. Like literally last year, Arizona State, BYU came out of nowhere. And some of the perennials were awful, like Utah, Oklahoma State. So,
yeah, it's easy to drink the Dillingham Kool-Aid. I mean, he's a psychopath, and like if that his vibe and his shtick resonates with you, like sure, easy enough to be all in. And then from a player level, like they don't just have the stars coming back, right? Like they have all the returning production. Like the stats are just relative to the landscape of the FBS. Like they're near the top at like a ton of that different stuff. So it's easy to buy in.
Zach, you have fresh ears, a fresh mind that's untainted. Let me give you their schedule real quick, and you tell me if I should start spending the winnings. Okay. Northern Arizona, Mississippi State, Texas State, at Baylor, TCU, at Utah, Texas Tech, Houston, at Iowa State, West Virginia, Colorado, Arizona. I mean, that's a pretty. I mean, you got Arizona,
doable.
You got Iowa State, and you got Baylor on the road, and then you have Texas Tech. I feel like those are the three hardest.
So every time I look at a Big 12 win total and think like, okay, and through the prism of like wanting to play an over, I look at like once you get to conference play, where like is there a single lock in Big 12 conference play? For like any two teams against each other. I feel like there is.
They're all 50-50s.
Not 50-50s, but a material chance that any team could beat any team. The BYU component is so interesting because when you think about like the progression of win totals through the offseason, markets are generally like fairly hammered into place by now, right? But if all of a sudden now like BYU, which I think if you were to like bet exact wins, 7, 8, 9 was probably for most of the offseason, like where most of the meat was from a percentage perspective. But now like 3, 4, 5, 6 is totally in play for this team, right? And that has a cascading effect, a ripple effect across the other teams' win totals. If like a team that was projected towards the upper echelon is now all of a sudden potentially like a bottom 4 team.
So according to Vegas, their 8.5 is their win total, Arizona State.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it kind of lends itself to what Andrew's saying. Like they could win 10 or 11 games or they could win 7. Like, and they all could be like, all their games could be toss-ups almost, like to where a field goal is the deciding factor. But you kind of jumped into what my first topic was going to be, Chris. And what I wanted to plan out for you guys on episode 100 was to throw some topics out and you guys give me % chance of it happening out of 100, obviously. And the first thing was the % chance that Sam Leavitt wins the Heisman, and you guys just went on with it. But you didn't give a %, so I'd like to hear what you realistically think the % chance of that happening is.
I don't, this is where you like turn a percentage into the odds, and then if I'm saying like, well, this % is 30 to 1, so I'm going to sound like an idiot. I don't know. Like he's like third. I think I bet it at like 30 or 35 to 1. So like it's a pretty steep number. But
who's the top? I mean, what's the top?
It's like the typical. It's like Klubnik. It's like Sellers, Nussmeier.
Right, but what's their odds though? Like what are their odds to
They're
win?
like 5 to 1, 8 to 1. I think are like the starting points. And there's a lot of them in the teens. And then it gets to like, oh, you're a quarterback on Ohio State. You're a quarterback on Bama. You're at 25, like the blanket name with the quarterback. I don't know. I'd say like 3% chance, right? I think something like that's like what the realistic number would be. But for me, like why I bet it was because I see them winning the Big 12. I think with Scadaboo going, like there's a real shot that he gets more usage and like post, when he was out for that one game, we got Jeff Sims, the return of Jeff Sims. He came back and didn't really run. Like, so I think he could run more this year, which is always helpful. And I think he's a good passer. He's got a stud receiver that, is not going to win the Heisman. Jordan Tyson would have to go absolutely nuclear to win the Heisman, and he's not. So you get the benefit of having a stud there.
Jeff's back again, right?
Jeff's never leaving. It's awesome. I don't know how he keeps having eligibility, but I don't ever want it to go away.
Agreed.
Andrew, what's your % chance that Leavitt wins the Heisman? Realistic.
1.5. Which
so okay, so who would if you were putting money on a guy, who is it?
I got suckered into using like a bonus bet or a profit boost on Klubnik. But the only guy I've bet so far is Demon Williams at like 100, 120, 150, something like that. I think FanDuel is at like 65 now.
That number's so egregious that I think you almost have to. Like, I don't think that's any realistic, but like at that number with his like talent, I think you have to bet it.
Yeah, just through a similar prism of like why I said we weren't going to bring it up, right? But like of why Fannin was a good bet for Mackey last year. Like the difference between where we as a fantasy community think he is likely to trend from a statistical perspective, the disparity between that and what his odds are in the Heisman in like a player level market is so great that if we are like if we're right about his statistics, like it's a conversation. And then okay, Washington's probably gonna drop some games, but maybe they're in the Big Ten, right? They play Ohio State. I think they close with Oregon. Get one of those and don't lose to the teams that are in kind of your cluster of like where there should be competitive games. Team plays a little bit above expectation, and maybe we're looking at like 10-2, 9-3 with insane stats, and he can win following like the Jaden Daniels type model.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has the cool fact. I think he will have the cool factor to him a little bit. There's always a little bit like story kind of helps too, right? Where he's like a redshirt freshman that pops on the scene, right? Like I think he's going to have some potential narratives that help him out too. So, I mean, he just like Levitt could put up good enough numbers through the air and a bunch of numbers on the ground that could catapult him. So I again, like at 100 or 125 to 1, like why would you not? Like, what's the risk in putting like $10 down? Because like that's just insane. That could be an insane return on something that's not that crazy.
Right.
And I also like Klubnik, by the way, is like the realistic option, like the closer to the favorite option. To me, Klubnik makes a ton of sense. So
yeah. Zach, how about you? Breezy
for Levitt.
Oh, I guess fine.
Oh,
I was gonna get your Heisman pick.
Oh, jeez. I really don't have a Heisman pick. I was just throwing it out there, but I do like Klubnik too. Obviously it's just the easy chalk pick, but I think Arch is like everybody wants you to bet Arch because he's the big name.
Mm-hmm.
But I not that I think he has a bad season. I think he can play, but I like Klubnik or I like Levitt's actually a good pick. Like if you're talking about just a guy that isn't top 5 as a pick, like of having a season where you're looking at his numbers like, damn, he might be the best. And we're looking at it from a fantasy perspective too. So like we take things and say, man, he crushed it through the air. He crushed it on the ground. Like he was winning matchups week to week for you. I know that doesn't translate to Heisman, but last year showed you that the win-loss record isn't everything. I mean, Travis Hunter was the best player on an okay team, but typically the Heisman goes to the best player on the best team or one of those guys. But actually the two guys that were in the running, Genty and Travis Hunter, like, yeah, Boise State was whatever, 11-1, 12, whatever they were. And those two guys were the clear front runners. And in any other year, like that doesn't happen. Like we don't see that usually. It's usually the best player on the best team that gets all the accolades.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels did basically the same thing, but his numbers were absolutely nuclear. And then like I think you have to go all the way back to like RG3 is like the last time somebody won on like a bad or average team.
That's what I'm saying.
In typical BTR fashion, allow me to turn this around on you, Zach.
Okay.
What are the percent chances that Sire Gaines is the RB1 for Boise State?
Percent chances. I would say, man, I'm gonna go 55.
Okay. Is it where's Malik Sherrod like 35 and then Breezy 10?
Like I think they're almost like, yeah, that seems about right. I mean, I think Gaines, Sherrod's gonna get playing time. Like there's no way he went there to just sit. So I am especially a rival. Like Fresno State and Boise State are a rival, if you want to call it that. But like I would say 55, maybe 30. Yeah, 15. Yeah.
What's the deciding point on Gaines? Like why Gaines over Sherrod? Is Sherrod just like too small or what?
No, I think it's familiarity with what they've got going on. I think that matters. Like if somebody that's been in the system for a minute, like they should have the leg up on somebody who's coming in fresh. I don't care where he came from. Like that matters. And right now, like you could see through fall camp, Sherrod might come in and just hit the ground running, no pun intended, and just take it over. I would like to see Breezy get more love, but I just think it's too crowded for him to really be the one.
It's funny how things change on guys. We all loved Breezy 2 years ago, and he just is disappeared. He needs to transfer.
I'm still in.
Andrew, what would you put Gaines percentage at?
Probably about fair.
And the other thing I'll add real quick. So like we sit here and look at this as like running back 1, running back 2, whatever. It might be one of those Halani Genty situations where they're both going to get significant touches. And yes, Halani is the main guy, but like that might happen. You have 3 backs that are all capable. That might end up the committee approach. I hate saying that, but
well, it's still fine. I mean, they dominated. Halani and Genty dominated for a couple of years doing that. So yeah. I would put it like 40-40-20. I'm sorry. No, 45%, 45%, 10%.
I almost went there, but
Breezy feels like an afterthought at this point, and so it's more like Sherrod versus Gaines, obviously.
All right. Well, that'll lead into kind of my next question. Percent chance that a running back will rush for 2,000 yards this year, and if so, who would it be? Because there was only one that did it last year.
Regular season, or we count all the games?
Well, you can count all the games, but
that's huge. That's like,
well, you can't do that.
Well, what I'm saying is there was only one running back did it last year, and he cleared it by 600 yards. The second closest was almost 300 short of 2K. Yeah. So what I'm asking is like if the percent chance of somebody doing it, and if that person, whoever you think that might be, who is it?
I would say, I don't know, 15% shot that somebody does it. That's such a big number. And if I had to bet it, I'll go super chalky Darius Taylor, because he could easily see 25 to 30 attempts per game. He just might, in terms of like, you have to have pretty insane efficiency to hit 2,000 or have pretty insane volume. And I think Taylor's not going to be like a 7-yard per carry guy, but he could easily get like 270 carries in the regular season.
So you think you would prefer the route of obscene volume and a likely 13-game schedule as opposed to maybe more traditional volume, but 16 or 17 games?
I'm not including anybody. I'm not thinking about it from a 6. Like, I'm not counting Nicholas Singleton thinking he's going to make it to the champ. Like, I'm just not doing that. I'm considering it from like a 12-game perspective because like, oh, great. Matthew Golden hit 800 receiving yards, but it took him freaking 100 games to get there. Like, that's, I don't know. I feel it feels not the point of what we're trying to do, as much as Zach opened it up to whatever interpretation that you wanted, Katz.
All right. So I'll stick it at 10%. If we were to do the method that Chris is ignoring, Jeremiah Lev would be in play, right? Obviously doesn't get a conference championship game, but 4 playoff games. I forget what the suits change the rules to this year. If Notre Dame can not get a bye, or can they go?
I don't remember, but even then, you're missing a conference championship game.
Yeah, but 12 plus 4, so 16 is like.
Yeah, but you could get 17.
I know. Yeah. So Singleton's like a good potential one too in that case. Even though like those guys, like let's just say they would need to average like 110, 120 yards a game. It's a lot.
It's a lot. What about just from like a 12 game perspective? Who would you pick?
Taylor's probably the best bet.
How do you guys feel about somebody like Isaac Brown getting more volume?
That's who I was leaning towards from like a more of an efficiency standpoint, was Isaac Brown, because he just looked so incredible last year.
Yeah, insane.
Like he gets, just say he's like, I think they said 160 something carries. Like if he gets over 200 carries, what does he do with it?
I mean, he was like a 7-yard per carry guy. So if he did that, he would need like he would still need like 260 touches or something, right? Like it's a pretty insane amount of touches you need to get there.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'll go to the next one then. All right. So a team named or not named Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, or Alabama will win the national championship.
Percentage chance: Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Alabama.
A team that's not named them. Yeah.
This is Cat's mind is working.
Yeah. So you get the Big 12, but like you don't really get the Big 12 because it's probably not happening, right?
Obvious reasons.
Arizona State, right?
Yeah. Did you bet Natty for Arizona State?
I bet them just to make the playoff.
No, so
yeah. Well, like I'm not that dumb. I burn money, but I don't burn that much money.
Well, if they did, you probably win the Heisman bet too. More than likely. If they're that good.
Yeah, if they're that level of talent. But
yeah.
What do you think, Katz? What's the percentage?
And then so you get Clemson. That's nice. Additional SEC or ACT teams. You get all those kind of somewhat dangerous SEC teams. You get Demond in the Big Ten, which is nice.
You get fake ACC Notre Dame.
Oh, that's true. You get Penn State. I feel like 50% is probably fair. Maybe a little higher. It's a good bet. Not in the preseason, but I feel like you get some exotic stuff like that on sports books. Like when around playoff time, you get some interesting stuff like that. I don't know. I can't recall if I've ever seen anything like that preseason though. But it would be fun if something was put out there. I would rather have that side though. I think it's really difficult for me to see like Georgia winning Natty. Like I think I've managed to talk myself a little bit into like Gunnar Stockton in fantasy this year, but still I don't. Yeah,
same here. I'm picking him up and an underdog. Like I feel like he's a good late pick. He helps with like I hate the bye week stuff and I've waffled, but like with my fifth quarterback, the bye week stuff does need to line up right, and so he is helpful in that regard too.
Totally, but still, like I don't know about a Natty. It doesn't. It's I don't know. What we haven't really seen, like Gunnar. Like how can you? I don't know if I can like count the Notre Dame game for much. Like that was a really tough situation to walk into. But I don't know. I haven't seen anything that like makes me think like okay, we're winning a Natty this year. So rule them out. Texas definitely live. Bama. I feel like it's unwise to do so to like cluster them in with like a bunch of teams that you didn't name. Maybe they like deserve to be treated with a little more respect in that regard. But I feel like you could have easily swapped them out with a bunch of other teams.
I almost put Clemson instead of Alabama. I did when I formed this question.
Yeah. So like Bama's inclusion doesn't really do anything for me. Ditto Uga. And then who's the fourth? Ohio State.
Ohio State, Texas, Georgia.
Yeah. So I think like Ohio State and Texas are the most like meaty of those. 60. I think it like 60% no is like fair.
I would have said like 40-ish%. You might be surprised, Andrew. That's Texas is the leader. Georgia's number 2 with Ohio State. They're tied at plus 600. Yeah. Bama is plus 1,000, so they're top 5.
Yeah.
So like, even though I think we both agree that they don't feel like they're in there,
Who
this
who
feels a
else
little
is
bit
up
wide
there?
open. Penn State is the fourth best odds. Then it becomes Oregon, Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU.
I was gonna say Oregon would be the other team, but we really think Oregon wins.
You also get Virginia Tech, so there is that other ACC addition into the mix.
Don't forget Auburn.
Well, I would say I'd say 40% just because I think I'm a little bit more confident in like Texas. I would say like the main competitor, right, is Penn State and Notre Dame from the other side, from the field side.
Yeah.
This feels a little bit wide open, right? But if you think about the last few years, who won it, right? It was Michigan, who returned everybody. Then it was Ohio State, who returned everybody. And now you have Penn State, who absurdly returned essentially everybody except for Tyler Warren. I mean, and JJ McCarthy proved that you can be an awful quarterback and win a national championship. So Drew Allen has a shot.
Zach,
Yep.
Do you have any Arch questions?
I don't.
Okay.
You can pose one if you'd like.
Yeah. What are percentage chance he comes back next year?
Ooh.
And let me tee it up through this perspective. So the only thing you can bet for NFL draft right now is number 1 pick, and Arch is the favorite. But I would lean he's not going pro after this year. Like I would say, well, I guess I should ask you.
I was just gonna say you're leading the witness. What are we doing?
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine that he does come back, especially if he's projected as a top 5 pick. The question was the percentage he comes back or the percentage he loses?
Yeah.
Percentage he comes back 30%.
Fairly material.
I think it's 50-50. If his name was Arch Smith, he probably goes. But because he's a Manning, I almost feel like there's a different level of like how they look at things between Peyton and Eli and their experience. And I think Peyton technically came back for a fourth. I think he came back for a 4th year, and he could have gone after his 3rd year. So I think there's a real shot he comes back and just tries to get the whole experience. And it also helps too that like he probably makes bank at Texas. Like it's not like he's taking.
I guess I didn't factor in the NIL component. Like he's going to make plenty.
He doesn't need the money, but it's certainly nice for him to be making millions to help that decision. Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing if he's projected as the top quarterback in the draft, how he doesn't go. Unless it's the whole Eli situation. I'm not playing for the Chargers. I mean,
but what would have to happen for him to? He has a great 2025, so good that he's a top 5 pick. Like, what would actually have to happen for him to not be a top 5 pick the next year? Right? It would just be like some catastrophic injury.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at what was the Locker. Wasn't he
right? But I'm just Locker's not a Manning is the difference.
I get that. I get that. But he was like the consensus number 1 pick, and then he comes back, and then now he's not even.
He's considered a number 1 pick, and he hasn't even played but like 2 games. So I think the Manning name will hold a ton of value. So that's why I'm 50-50.
Okay.
I believe that family makes decisions not based on. So a lot of decisions are made based on like, oh, short term, let me make a decision based on my draft equity, with the idea being like I can go and like get that bag and like start my pro career. But I think that every decision they made to date, every decision they'll continue to make is like more long-term thinking with respect to like development and like how to best set him up for his pro career. So it's somewhat abstract, but I would say that like the primary factors into the decision of going pro are like, has he developed to the point that best sets him up in his pro career from a football perspective? And I would say that like where he goes in the draft will factor very minimally into that decision.
Yeah,
I'll say 70% comes back.
Nice. I can't argue with any of that.
History says Zach is right, but I think the uniqueness of the situation is we've never seen before.
He's priced as the favorite to go number 1. He's like plus 230, and then I think it's Nuss and Sellers and then Klubnik.
The first pick is probably going to be like a tackle or an edge.
This could be an amazing quarterback class.
It could, but what if I think there's so many options. I wonder what like people would trade up for, right? If the first pick is not, if it's New Orleans, yeah, they're I mean, they're almost like a lock to take a quarterback. But what if it's the Giants and they just took Jackson Dart? Do they go him or do they go tackle? And then like, what's the trade market with the Giants when you could literally have Arch, Nuss, Sellers, and Levitt as like 4 viable first? Do you break the bank just to get one of the 4 when you could just kind of wait?
You don't think a year is enough time to realize that the Jackson Dart experiment is a disaster?
Do you think how many games do you think he starts?
0.
So I think you could easily do that for Shuck. I think we actually see Shuck play, but like, I don't think with Dart, you would be able to bail on that one so quickly.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, well, let me move on to the next one. Completely other end of the passing spectrum here. A wide receiver catches 100 passes this year. Percentage chance that happens. Only one did it last year. 2 tight ends did it, but 1 wide receiver did it. I'll say a wide receiver or tight end catches 100 passes this year.
Thank you for the inclusion of
it just to throw that in.
Eli Stowers, I guess. It's like I think probably not as low as you think. I'd say 35%.
And who would you have in mind?
Well, I got a name in mind. I want to hear what
Okay.
I have 2 in mind. I want to hear what Katz's number is first, and then we
do a 12 game again.
Yes, 12 games.
We'll include
12 games. We're somewhat of a fantasy podcast. Let's just do straight.
Fine.
Just do straight 12.
Over 12 games, I'll put it at like 25%. That's more than 8 catches a game. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you talk to Mike Bainbridge, Easton Messer's already caught 100 passes. So I would say him, and I was thinking Tyson. I mean, Tyson's volume is insane. He gets so many targets that I would think that he's in play. He's not like a guy that I project for like 20 yards per catch, but if he doesn't get 10 or 12 targets a game, I'd be kind of shocked.
What are his splits with Sims at quarterback versus Levitt?
Probably. Who knows? I'm not going that route.
Oh man, if I could have prepared for that, I could have had it ready. Damn.
Who was it in your head, Katz?
I don't think it's like super likely.
Well, you said what, 30%? Who were you thinking in your head could do it?
Tyson.
I was gonna say Tyson too.
What about like super long?
I was thinking like the Alabama offense is gonna look so different without Milroe at quarterback. Like, what did it? Washington threw it so much, but they also like split between 3 receivers. I forget what their pass catching totals looked like in 2023.
They were, I want to say, like from a volume perspective, it was like 25-ish% each.
Yeah.
Which weird. It was tough though because they had the injury with Polk, or maybe it was the other one, McMillan, that kind of threw off like a true percentage of like distribution. But
yeah.
So in 2023, Washington, Dunze had 1,600 yards, 92 catches, 1,600. Polk had 69 catches for 1,150.
Was that the full season though?
Yeah, that was the 15 game. Yeah, that's with the playoff.
It's got to be G5 if you're. I think the only way it happens is if it's G5 or Tyson. All these great receivers at the top for Power 4 are like big play touchdown threats, like Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, like Cam Coleman. These are guys that like feast on 60-yard touchdowns, like not necessarily the spam target.
So
Mester's a good call.
So the top, I'll just give you guys this: the top receiver in terms of receptions in a 12-game season last year was Ty Felton from Maryland, 96. So maybe somebody like that just kind of, not him, but like just somebody that's kind of off the radar to have that volume.
Oh, here we go. I got one for you.
Go ahead.
I mean, if you think about, I just pulled up my stuff. It's like Brendan Presley had 89, Josh Kelly had 89. So what about Coy Eakin? I've drafted a lot of Coy Eakin right now on an underdog.
Yeah,
Is that
I am
dumb?
too. I guess it's fair. I tend to like be more about the Texas Tech passing game than running game. But like I'm totally down drafting Eakin right now because he's like pretty cheap and like I'm fine paying that price. I don't know, 100 field. Kelly had how many? 89.
89.
Yeah,
It's a lot. That's nice.
Yeah. And if Morton's healthy again, like he's gonna throw it 425 times.
Do you draft Morton?
I have, but not a lot. Just to,
Yeah.
He's not really my type, generally speaking. But I've adapted. I'm becoming better.
You don't buy into the coach speak that he's gonna run this year.
I didn't even hear that, but now I'm a little bit. I got a little bit of a tingle.
I might be making it up.
Well, do you want to hear some Coy Eakin propaganda?
Please.
So I was looking, and obviously he's moved to the slot, which is very appealing.
Yeah.
But he's wearing a special number. Like they gave him a special number that commemorates like a former player's passing, essentially, or like something like that, or
nice.
Somebody close to the Texas Tech family. And the coach said it was like a no-brainer and like was all about it. And he loved the fact that Eakin was like, give it to me. Like, I want that number. So if you want some more Eakin propaganda, there you go.
That's what's up.
All right. So the next question, it kind of goes with this. A tight end breaks 1,000 yards this year. So only 2 did it last year. And you guys know who the 2 are.
Who were the 2?
Fannin and Warren.
Nobody from a P4
Warren
perspective
did it in the regular season?
regular. No, he didn't. Not in the regular season.
Yeah.
He had 978.
Okay. But, so 1 did it last year.
Right. Probably I'd say like 5%. Like I don't think Stowers is one of the best tight ends, but he's like a volume guy, not a tight end guy. Like Sadiq is great, but I don't think we think he's 1,000 yards is a ton of targets. Like you can't get there without a lot of targets.
It has to be the guy that is the focal point of their offense, and like Fannin was, like he clearly was their man. But that is a lot of yards for a tight end. Gadsden was, I think, like 9 something. I think too.
He was at 848.
Yeah.
And then you get like Claire at 685, Helm 600, Jolie 620. I mean, I don't think 1,000 yards is possible, but like if you want to talk about like who could lead with receiving yards, I think like a Jolie or Stowers, injuries, I think those guys could do it. But we're talking 700 yards, not 1,000.
Andrew,
say 8%.
John Michael Gillenborg.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny hearing some of these beat writers talk about like the projections for players on their teams, and if you actually like the Wyoming guy was like 1,000 yards for not Krister, the other receiver, 1,000 yards for Gillenborg. It's like, how many yards is Kate Anderson
right
for?
It's like when the Utah guys were all over Rising and said that he would throw for like 4,000 or something. You're just like, who are getting these yards in the receiving?
Yeah, directionally still helpful, but like funny just from like a math perspective, how the math doesn't math.
Bacon Fuel put out a stat that was great for John Michael the other day. Did you see that?
No.
It was something about like yards, first down yardage per route or something like that. Like he called it a very predictive like success stat, and I think Gillenborg was number 1 on the list for tight ends.
Dude's the man. Yeah, I mean Gillenborg's awesome. But like they're not passing at the rate that I think it would take for him to get to 1,000 yards.
All right, Andrew, this next question is for you. A team not named Liberty wins CUSA.
Oh, let's go.
You should have said not named Western Kentucky either.
Now I'm gonna see.
Yeah, I think that is the most mispriced conference winner market right now. It's odd to me that Liberty has almost 50% of the market share, priced at like plus 110 or something like that, plus 140. And then you've got Western Kentucky at plus 400. Like I think just irrespective of odds, like I would give Western Kentucky a better shot at winning this year. Yes, like there are elements of like Liberty that like make you not want to rule them out, right? Like they have the most money in the conference, and what that means is like we do the best from like a recruiting perspective. So there's talent on the roster. I didn't realize that Ethan Vasco was originally recruited by Chadwell at Coastal. So you think that like we know he could scoot and stuff, and like yeah, but I mean he also got benched multiple times last year at Coastal. I have questions about like his quality as a quarterback, but it could be a really nice fit for Basco and Chadwell's system, and if the offense gets humming, like we know they have talent, it could be problematic. But I don't know. I think that 55% feels fair. I would make WKU the favorite personally. Like I think that those two teams are the most likely to meet in the conference title, and I don't think that either team would be a big favorite over the other in the conference title game. Even WKU was like pretty disastrous last year and still made the conference title game. Like the offense didn't click whatsoever. The play calling just wasn't very good. Like very bland and boring offense, and they still took care of business in conference play. Now we've got maybe not an upgrade at quarterback like MacGyver and Veldkamp, probably comparable, but I'm happy to see that. I think the offense should be back to like more what we expect from WKU. Even if they're not at Liberty from a talent level, I think that you compare them against the greater CUSA landscape. They're probably like in a tier 2 by themselves. And Liberty, I do think has like disaster potential. Like every game last year you watched them, like it was most obvious with Salter that he didn't want to be there, but the rest of the team didn't look like they were very invested either. Does that fix over the course of one off season, or do we continue to kind of see some poison in the water?
I would be a little bit more aggressive anytime, especially with like a CUSA type conference. I would say like 75% it's not them. Liberty. Yeah. What about Sam Houston State as like an option?
Well, I was going to ask if somebody wasn't those top two teams, who is the dark horse to win that conference?
Well, you could pull up the odds to see. I'm curious who that are, but like Sam Houston State pops out at me from like
plus 1,000.
Did you write the Sam Houston State profile?
I did not. No.
Okay, so you might be in the dark with respect to what's going on there. The defense
might be like 100% in the dark of what's going on at Sam Houston State.
Yeah, the defense, like the cupboard is totally bare. They lost their defensive coordinator who. So I like don't get in the weeds, as you might imagine, very much from like a defense perspective, but like I think there were like 3 extremely notable defensive coordinator moves this offseason. The Sam Houston State guy going to North Texas, like that guy was super legit. Getting Sam Houston State to play solid defense last year, so he kind of like took the whole defense with him. They have like nothing coming back. If you listen to the G5 pod,
this is really good. I just looked at this from like the CFP Winning Edge page. This is like catastrophically bad. 6% of tackles, 4% of pressures, 6% of snaps. Like they're 6.43% of the defensive returning production. Incredible stuff.
So their coordinator going to North Texas and bringing a ton of production, like I think makes North Texas all the more interesting from like a conference perspective. And then my other 2 like notable ones, the Houston guy going to Texas Tech. The Houston guy, like whatever his name is, Shield something, like that's Kyle's boy who he was obsessed with when he was at like Tulane, and then went to Houston and now is at Texas Tech. Like that feels very notable because that guy can just like raise the floor of your defense, and then they're already spending so much money on players. Like it's gonna be interesting to see what Texas Tech defense looks like this year. And then the Oklahoma guy who was with Rich Rod at Jacksonville State and made Jacksonville State's defense nasty and then made Oklahoma's defense nasty last year. He is now back with Rich Rod at West Virginia. West Virginia feel to me like I know they're getting a really bad rap in the win total market, and it sounds like coming out of the spring, like they had a lot of work to do from a roster perspective. Like, and that presumably was acknowledged internally in the sense that, like, yes, between the fall and the spring, they did a ton of roster overload, and then they did more out of the spring coming into the summer as well. But like that, I always screw up the guy's name, Zach Atley or whatever his name is. Like that dude has not worked miracles, but like raised the bar at two defenses back-to-back years. It's funny that not funny, but it's interesting that he left Oklahoma for West Virginia. Like, what does that say? Like that has to be like one of the biggest red flags of what's going on at Oklahoma as it relates to like Venables' short to medium to long-term outlook there. But he also seeing like him as the DC at West Virginia, like now on the offense and defense side of the ball, like you have Rich Rod and this dude, which from a coaching perspective, really like I love both those guys. Huge personnel questions, but like I don't know, just both sides of that coin, the personnel and the coaching, like maybe they figured out personnel wise because I have like no questions about coaching ball on both sides of the ball there.
Well, all right.
I got no follow-up.
It like initially when I saw this Sam Houston State win total 4.5, I was like, what the heck's going on here? And then asked around, got more info. It's like, all right, the defense is just absolutely effed. And
did I just suggest a team to win the conference that win total is 4.5?
Yes. Don't worry. If you made me pick my like true long shot, I would say Kennesaw, who has 3.5. But I think like
plus
more
3,300 to win the conference.
Yeah, more realistically, like UTEP is like kind of trendy and fun. Malachi.
Oh yeah.
Percent chances, Zach, that Malachi Nelson's the starting quarterback by week 14.
Percent chance that he even plays for them. Like,
right.
I don't know. I'll give it a 25% chance. Like he should be, but I don't know what's going on. He should have been the starter last year, but something happened. But Mad Dog's been good though. I can't complain with Mad Dog. All right, I got two more. This one is just kind of throwing it out there. A G4 team makes it to the Final Four, I guess is what it would be called. Because now they don't get the automatic bye, right? So they would have to win a game to get in.
2 games.
2 games. Well, yeah.
Who are the contenders, right? Like last year, it felt very obvious who the contenders were. Like UNLV, Boise, Memphis, Tulane. I don't even know who would be considered like the top dog there.
Boise's like
Boise's still up
they've
there.
They've got like a third of the pie at this point to make it out.
Yeah, probably UNLV if you wanted to throw them into it. Tulane, probably. Memphis.
Yeah, those are all. I'm not encouraged by any of those names.
App State.
I don't know. I would say fairly low, like 3%. Like I think Boise's, like you kind of mentioned, Boise's the favorite of the group, but like I don't know if they could win 2 games in the playoff. That feels a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, 2 or 3%.
Yeah, because I was looking at it too. Like I don't even think Boise does it. So because we're sitting here trying to figure out who's going to run the ball. Like they're going to have.
I think the options are good, so that's why it's an interesting debate.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about them but like if they're not going to win games with Genty in the playoff, albeit it was just one and it was one option,
right?
To say, but like I'm not encouraged by a team without Genty doing that.
But I like the game that they would be playing more than likely. Let's just say it's Boise. They might be playing in Arizona State.
It'd be playing like a 9-3 Ole Miss or something,
right?
10-2,
like that's doable. But to win the next one. That's the one that you would probably have to like.
I would be very worried about any G4 team facing off against an SEC team. Like this year's crop, at least, like I think there's not a team that really, to me, jumps out as like a dominant G4 team. And because of that, I'd be worried about them facing like a Georgia or even.
I think
like
it would be matchup dependent for sure.
They need to be facing off against like
Louisville,
SMU, or like you said, Arizona State, Iowa State. Like those are the teams that I think could give them options.
All right. So I have one more, and this is really just for Chris. Auburn goes over 7.5 wins.
25%. 20%. I am not encouraged. That schedule is very difficult, and it's not like Hugh Freeze has proven to be some sort of like mastermind in this current day and age.
So you 25%, Andrew. How do you feel about it?
It's slightly higher. Just for
you want me to read the schedule?
You can
read the schedule of like the harder teams. We don't need to know that they're playing Alabama A&M.
Okay.
Read the harder teams.
All right. So they open at Baylor. Okay, Ball State, South Alabama, at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, and then they're off. Then they get Georgia, Missouri, at Arkansas, Kentucky, at Vandy, by Mercer, Alabama.
So they can't lose 5 of those games.
Right.
I mean, the nice thing is that Auburn plays Georgia and Alabama at home. But at the same time, too, like
they start with like the 3, like at Baylor, at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, all on the road. They get Ball State and South Alabama at home. But
I think like best case, they win 2 of those first 3 road matches. Like absolute best case. Most likely case is 1.
Baylor. Baylor.
I don't know. I kind of like Baylor. Like I think they're a little bit. They came on so strong in the second half of the year that I'm a little bit intrigued by them. Friday night game in Baylor is like super cool, by the way, for those watching a random game.
I think that there is everyone's remembering that Baylor couldn't hang with LSU in the bowl game, but like there's difference between Nussmeier and that offense and like freaking Jackson Arnold and Auburn. Right, like it's a tier below. So I don't know. I think that people are like basing their opinion on that game a little bit based on what happened the last time Baylor saw an SEC team. But I don't know. I think like Auburn's a couple below LSU, so that wouldn't be fair.
I think the quarterback stuff is a little iffy. The defense is going to be good, but it's not going to be like dominant like it was in previous years. Here's one for you guys. Okay. Percent chances that Notre Dame starts 0-2. Their games are at Miami and then home against Texas A&M. 0-2 start.
I'm going to say 40%.
Really? That's super high.
I'll say here's why. Like, I think you're asking me the odds of starting 0-2. There's only 3 possibilities of their outcomes of those 2 games. They're either 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2. Right?
I think that's the math checks out, but I don't have a calculator in front of me.
So, like, do I think they lose both? No. But is it possible? Yeah, it is. And so I'm going to say 40.
What's the Katz, give your number.
10.
Wow, that's like very confident. You're not worried at all about CJ Carr?
No, dude, we've discussed this, how I'm basically a Notre Dame fan now after listening to their pods during the playoff run. So I'm bought in. Yeah, I'm totally bought in.
So what's the game that they lose, at Miami, or is it home against A&M?
I think the home against A&M is more likely to lose of the 2.
Yeah.
You're on the other end of that. If they lose the game, Andrew, it's the.
I think they go 2-0.
If they were to lose the game, which one do they lose?
Miami, but both those teams, like, they have lots of questions as well, and like outside of quarterback for Notre Dame. Yes, they just lost that lineman to like a UTV accident.
Freak accident, yeah.
Yeah, but I think they'll be fine like there unless they lose more guys. And what other questions are there really about Notre Dame? I don't think there's many. I think it's just like, all right, if Carr can like function, they should be okay.
For the record, I think they win both of those games. But you asked me, like, odds of them losing both. Like, I wouldn't be just shocked if they lost both of them. Like, it's kind of how Notre Dame is. Like, they're either really, really good or they're, like, hyped up to be really good, and they just don't pan out.
I would say their chances of losing would be lower if it was like both of those were in October. I think it does help their chances of losing that they open it. And you just, nobody's in a groove yet. Maybe I think it's not like CJ Carr has some like hidden talent that it's not like he's some runner and they have designed these plays for him to run, right? We know fairly well what the offense is going to be, like a lot of runs with their running backs and then a lot of typical drop back passing. It's not like they're going to be, are they going to go for it a bunch on 4th and 1? And like, what's that play going to be with like Riley Leonard was a different story last year than it is today. So there's a little bit less of a surprise factor in week 1. But
I do have one more question. It's really, I'll just throw it out. I just came up with it. Percent chance that J. Michael Sturdivant is Florida's best receiver.
I don't care to find out. I'll just put it out that way. I don't care to find out.
I just cut him in some leagues. he did get picked up though, so there are believers out there. But he's burned me too many times. Like
there's a chance.
Yeah.
Is his first name really just Jay?
I guess. I would assume. I guess I just assume it's John, but I don't know.
I don't see anywhere on his like little bio on Florida where it says anything about his first name.
Right. It's always been J. Michael.
Can you trust a person whose first name is just the letter J?
And it's not J-A-Y. It's just J. Period.
J. Period.
He enjoys cartoons.
Oh man! All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a bit of a different take on it on our episodes, but I guess it's different because I'm here too. So it's a rarity. Yeah, the lost episode. So I'm sure Chris and Andrew will be back in the next week or two to talk college football. I'll make whatever I can. Work schedule's all changing. So again, you guys hold it down. You guys have been doing great, by the way. I want props to you guys. And also anybody that's listening, don't forget, join the Discord. I'm trying to revamp a few things in the Discord to get more news flowing through it to where it's more helpful in terms of drafts and how you approach things. So stay tuned for that. But unless you guys have anything else, that's all I got, guys. So you guys enjoy your rest of your week, and see you guys next week.